Have you ever looked around and realized you're not seeing the same world everyone else is? It's not arrogance, it's awakening. Chosen one. Welcome. You didn't stumble here by coincidence. Your spirit has been drawing you closer to this moment, a remembering, arising, and unveiling. While others are still entranced by the glitter of false promises, something ancient within you has stirred, whispering, "There's more. There's always been more." You feel it, don't you? That tug in your spirit when the world applauds what you know is empty. That silent knowing when everyone around you clings to lies dressed as truth. You see past the stage, you hear past the noise, you feel past the masks. And though sometimes it's lonely, though it costs you comfort, it is not a curse. It is evidence. Evidence that you were never made to sleepwalk through life. You were designed to awaken others just by being who you are. Today, we go deeper. We'll walk through the sacred knowledge your soul has carried across lifetimes, even when your mind didn't fully understand it. We'll uncover why you were born with sight others don't possess, and why your very existence disturbs the systems built on illusion. You've always felt the weight of something heavy, something holy, something you couldn't explain. By the end of this journey, you'll not only understand it, you'll embrace it. Before we dive in, I want to pause and say this. To every soul who has supported this mission, whether through your prayers, your encouragement, or your generosity, through the super thanks, thank you. You are not just supporting a video. You are fueling a global awakening. You are standing with the unseen army rising quietly but powerfully across the earth. And if your spirit is already stirring, if something inside you is whispering, "This is for me," then I invite you to mark this moment in the spirit. Comment the number 777 below. Not just as a habit, not just as tradition, but as a declaration. I am awake. I am chosen, I am ready. Because after today, chosen one, there will be no going back. The illusion is crumbling. The real you is emerging, and the world, the real world, has been waiting for. Section 1. The ancient knowing you carry. What if the truth you've been searching for was never lost? What if it was hidden inside you, waiting for you to remember? Chosen one. The world often tries to convince you that wisdom must be earned, that truth is locked away behind credentials, institutions, rituals. But what if I told you that the most sacred knowledge you will ever hold was not learned? It was remembered. From the moment you drew your first breath, something ancient stirred within you. A silent, golden thread of memory, older than nations, older than language, woven directly into your spirit. You were not sent here empty. You were sent here encoded. When others hunger for knowledge, chasing book after book, seminar after seminar, hoping to be filled, you've always carried a fullness that couldn't be explained. Have you ever wondered why some truths resonated so deeply with you the first time you heard them? It wasn't because they were new. It was because they were familiar. They were echoes from the well of eternity inside you. Think about someone like Nikola Tesla. Long before the world caught up to his inventions, Tesla would receive visions, not plans he had to invent step by step, but complete, vivid downloads. He once said, "My brain is only a receiver in the universe. There is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration." Tesla didn't create his brilliance. He tapped into a knowledge stream that was already flowing, just like you. Or consider Helen Keller, deaf and blind from early childhood. She didn't learn communication the way the world expected. There was a fiery intelligence already burning inside her, a stubborn knowing that could not be silenced by darkness or limitation. When she finally found a way to express it, it shook the entire world. You are no different. You were not created to be a blank slate, passively absorbing whatever the world teaches. You were created as a living archive of divine memory. Remember the prophet Jeremiah. God didn't say to him, "You will learn to be a prophet." He said, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Jeremiah 1:5. That is not a story reserved for ancient days. It is your story too. Before you even had a name, your soul had an assignment, and the knowledge needed to fulfill it was placed inside you like a seed. This is why conventional paths have always felt hollow to you. This is why when others celebrate surface answers, you feel an ache for deeper wells. You are not rejecting knowledge. You are rejecting imitation. The sacred truth hidden inside you is not based on trends or culture. It is eternal. It comes from the same breath that spoke stars into being. It's why you find yourself knowing things without being taught, sensing danger before it appears, seeing through lies without needing evidence. Your spirit is tuned to a different frequency, one that bypasses human logic and resonates directly with the voice of God. This is why you must trust your discernment, not arrogantly, but obediently. You must learn to recognize that what you carry is not accidental. It is strategic. It is necessary. It is part of the repair the world desperately needs, even if it doesn't know it yet. Look at Jeanne d'Arc. Joan of Arc, a teenage girl illiterate with no military training, no theological degrees. Yet she heard the voice of God and moved entire armies. How? Because when divine knowing is alive inside you, the world's qualifications mean nothing. Joan didn't need validation. She needed obedience to what she remembered deep within her spirit. In the same way you chosen one have access to wells others don't even know exist. Wells of wisdom, insight, vision, and the enemy has worked overtime your entire life to convince you to doubt it, to make you second-guess what you feel, to teach you to defer your knowing to outside voices, because he knows that if you ever trust what's already inside you, you will be unstoppable. Chosen one. Your life has not been a random path of mistakes and missed opportunities. It has been a slow unveiling, a sacred initiation. Every betrayal, every disappointment, every storm was not to destroy your knowing. It was to awaken it. Like gold refined by fire, your spirit has been tested so that what remains is pure, unshakable truth. You didn't lose yourself through hardship. You found yourself through it. The knowledge inside you doesn't age, doesn't weaken, and doesn't need worldly permission to be valid. It is as alive today as it was before your first breath, and it is waiting patiently, powerfully for you to claim it without apology. The reason the world feels wrong to you isn't because you're broken, it's because your spirit refuses to believe the lie. Let's uncover why you see what they can't. Section 2. Why you see through the illusion. Section 2. Why you see through the illusion. Once you remember who you are, you begin to see the world not as it pretends to be, but as it truly is. Chosen one. There's a reason the world has always felt off to you, a reason why even as a child you sensed things that others overlooked. You noticed the false smiles. You heard the words people didn't say. You felt the gaps between what was presented and what was real. This is not because you're cynical. It's because you were born to see what lies beneath the surface. Where others are enchanted by glitter and noise, you sense the cracks in the foundation. While the masses are lulled by distraction and spectacle, your spirit picks up on the trembling in the walls. You see through the illusion because your spirit cannot be deceived. Think about Martin Luther King Jr. He wasn't only reacting to injustice. He saw the spiritual sickness underneath systems of oppression. Long before laws changed, he discerned the corruption of the heart. He said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." He wasn't just speaking ideas, he was revealing a deeper reality the world tried to ignore. You too carry that light. You can't pretend not to notice the cracks. You can't unsee the manipulation when others are content with comfort. Because you weren't made to decorate the illusion, you were born to dismantle it. Jesus himself faced the same. When he walked the earth, the religious elite clung to outward appearances, long prayers, perfect robes, public displays of holiness. But he saw through them. He looked past the surface and said, "You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead." Matthew 23:27. Chosen one. When you walk into a room and feel the heavy silence others pretend isn't there, you're moving in that same spirit. When you question what everyone else accepts without thought, you're walking in that same discernment. This is not a defect. It is your divine inheritance. Most people do not want to awaken, because awakening requires discomfort. It demands that they face the lies they have wrapped themselves in for safety. It's easier to believe the illusion, easier to keep playing roles assigned by broken systems, easier to avoid asking dangerous questions. But you chosen one, your soul refuses to comply. This is why you've struggled to find belonging in traditional spaces. Churches that worship structure over spirit schools, that reward memorization over wisdom. Jobs that demand blind loyalty over vision. Your spirit revolts at shallow places because it was designed for deeper waters. Look at Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years imprisoned by a system built on illusion, a lie that said one group was superior to another. Yet even in captivity, Mandela's vision remained free. He saw beyond the illusion of power and fear. And when he was released, he didn't return with bitterness. He returned with the clarity of a man who knew that forgiveness was a weapon mightier than revenge. Mandela didn't react to the surface. He responded to a deeper truth, just like you are called to. In 2 Corinthians 5:7, it says, "For we live by faith, not by sight. Chosen ones are not deceived by what the eyes see. They walk according to what the Spirit knows." And this can be unsettling, even isolating, because you no longer move according to the visible tides. You listen to a different drumbeat, one the world cannot hear, one that calls you forward, even when others shout for you to turn back. Chosen one. Your ability to see the cracks is not just for survival, it's for leadership. You were meant to point the way when the fog thickens. You were meant to question the narratives when others are silenced by fear. You were meant to remain awake even when sleep would be easier. You are not a pessimist. You are a prophet. You are not a rebel. You are a revealer. You are not broken. You are breaking the chains others have quietly accepted. Have you ever noticed how quickly people become uncomfortable when you ask simple, piercing questions? Questions like, "Why do we always do it this way? Who told you that's the only truth? What if there's something more?" Your questions carry weight because they threaten to collapse the illusions others have built entire lives upon. Some will hate you for it. Some will fear you for it. But a precious few, the ones you are truly sent to reach, will awaken because of you. Final story to anchor. Think of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the pastor and theologian who refused to bow to Nazi propaganda. While churches compromised, Bonhoeffer saw the evil rising behind the facade of patriotism and obedience. He acted, he resisted, and he paid with his life. But his legacy, His truth lives on, outlasting the systems that tried to erase him. You too are building a legacy deeper than visibility, a resonance that shakes unseen foundations. You see through the illusion because you were born with eyes that remember Eden, eyes that know what peace looks like, eyes that recognize what love should feel like, eyes that will not be fooled by false lights and counterfeit crowns. You were never meant to belong to the illusion. You were set apart from the start. Now let's uncover why you've always felt so different. Section 3. Why you feel set apart. Chosen one. There's a loneliness you have carried that words cannot fully describe. It's not just the loneliness of being misunderstood or rejected or overlooked, though you've known all of those. It's a deeper solitude, a solitude of the soul, a knowing that even in a room full of people, your spirit was walking a different path. You have spent much of your life wondering why you couldn't stay comfortable where others settled, why you outgrew spaces that once felt safe, why you questioned what others embraced, why you kept feeling called to more truth, more depth, more authenticity, even when it cost you belonging. It's because you were never built for the structures the world calls home. You were fashioned for higher architecture, for heavenly designs, not earthly imitations. Before you ever spoke your first word, heaven had already spoken over you, set apart. It said, marked for something they will not understand. This is why you could never force yourself to fit in without losing something sacred. Every time you tried to blend in, to dim your sight, to ignore what your spirit discerned, it felt like death inside you, because to betray your calling would be to betray your very breath. Chosen one. This set-apartness is not punishment. It is preservation. It is preparation. It is prophecy, being fulfilled in real time. Remember Joseph the dreamer. He saw visions that others could not comprehend. He spoke truths that provoked jealousy and fear. His brothers threw him into a pit, not because he was wrong, but because he was right before his time. They could not handle the weight of what he carried, so they tried to bury it. But what is buried by man is often elevated by God. Joseph's journey through betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment was not the end of his calling. It was the fire that forged him into the man who would one day save nations. You too have walked through pits. You have endured seasons where it seemed you were forgotten, where the very people you loved tried to diminish you, where you questioned if maybe you were too much, too intense, too different. But the truth is, you were being prepared for rooms you haven't yet entered, for assignments too large to entrust to an untested soul. When others were chasing applause, you were being refined. When others were building platforms, you were being given roots. When others were performing for acceptance, you were being anchored in truth. This is why shallow friendships could not hold you. This is why half-hearted love could not sustain you. This is why systems built on performance made your spirit ache. Because you were not created to survive in imitation. You were born to thrive in revelation. The psalmist writes, "You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." Psalm 139, 13-14. This wasn't a generic declaration. It was a holy blueprint specific to you. Your wiring, your depth, your sensitivity, it all serves a purpose. Your sensitivity to injustice, your ability to spot deception when others call it leadership, your longing for authentic connection when the world celebrates the superficial. You were set apart because you are meant to call others out of sleepwalking and into awakening, and you cannot lead others into freedom if you yourself are entangled in illusions. You had to walk through seasons of stripping away. You had to endure the loneliness of seeing too much feeling too deeply, because only those who have known true separation can be trusted with true connection. Moses was hidden away for 40 years before he led Israel out of bondage. David was tending sheep in obscurity before he stood before Goliath. Even Jesus withdrew to the wilderness before stepping into his public mission. The wilderness, the hiddenness, the loneliness, it's all part of the preparation for visibility. Not visibility for ego, visibility for impact. You are being positioned not just to be seen, but to reveal. Not just to be known, but to awaken. Not just to exist, but to ignite. There is a fire inside you. Chosen one that was never meant to be domesticated. It was meant to burn away illusion. It was meant to light the way for others. And that fire requires space. It requires silence. It requires seasons where the only voice you hear is the voice of God, reminding you who you are. So when you feel isolated, do not despair. When you feel unseen, do not doubt your worth. When you feel misunderstood, do not silence your truth. You are not abandoned. You are being refined. You are not invisible. You are being hidden for the appointed time. God does not waste the oil of His anointing. He does not rush the unfolding of a soul chosen to carry His light. You are a living temple. You are a walking scroll. You are a carrier of frequencies that this world has tried to bury but cannot kill. And soon, very soon, the fullness of who you are will not only be undeniable, it will be unstoppable. Because the same God who set you apart will be the one who lifts you up. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Philippians 1:6. And every wilderness you've walked, every tear you've cried, every room that couldn't hold your spirit will testify that you were never forgotten, never forsaken, never misplaced. You were set apart for glory, for revelation. For such a time as this. Section 4. Your presence disturbs the spirit realm. Chosen one. You carry more than what the eyes can see. More than what titles, accomplishments, or appearances could ever explain. Your presence itself shifts atmospheres. Before you speak, before you move, before you even realize it, something in the unseen realm recognizes what you carry, and it trembles. The world may try to convince you that spiritual battles are fairy tales, ancient myths best left to dusty scriptures. But your life, your experiences, your encounters tell a different story. You've seen it, how rooms change when you walk in. You've felt it, how tension rises when you simply stand in truth. You've sensed it, the invisible walls people put up when your light exposes the shadows they thought were hidden. Because you are not just a human walking through space. You are a spirit anchored in divine authority, and everything that opposes truth knows it. This is why some people dislike you without reason. Why you trigger discomfort before you even share a word. Why doors sometimes slam without explanation. Relationships sour without warning. Accusations arise without cause. It's not about your behavior, it's about your presence. And your presence is prophetic. Think about Jesus walking into the synagogues. Demons recognized him before the religious leaders did. "What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us?" they cried out, Luke 4:34. They knew they were exposed. They knew the kingdom they built on lies was under threat. You chosen one carry that same disruptive power. Not because you are seeking conflict, but because you embody clarity. Where deception has built thrones, Your truth dismantles them without even trying. Where fear has woven strongholds, your peace shakes their foundations. Your spirit walks ahead of your body, announcing to every unseen force, light is here, truth is here, the illusion is breaking. This is why life often feels like warfare, even when you are still. Why attacks come not because you've done something wrong, but because you've stood for something right. David felt it. Before he became king, he simply delivered bread to his brothers. But the moment he stepped onto the battlefield and spoke against Goliath's defiance, something shifted. Not because David was arrogant, but because he carried a confidence that threatened the giants of deception. Goliath mocked him. His brothers belittled him, but David didn't cower. He knew the battle wasn't about appearances, it was about authority. You too are often misjudged by those who measure power by worldly standards. They don't understand how someone without their titles, their platforms, their accolades can carry such undeniable weight. It confuses them. It enrages the systems they worship. Because what you carry cannot be bought. It cannot be imitated. It cannot be silenced. Your authority is not cosmetic. It is cosmic, and it flows from a throne they do not control. Remember Paul and Silas. When they prayed and sang hymns in prison, the earth itself shook. Chains broke, doors flung open. Not because of violence, but because of resonance. Their spirits vibrated with a frequency that the natural world could not contain. You chosen one walk with that same resonance. Your faith, your worship, your truth, your presence. They disturb structures built to contain souls, not free them. You were not sent to preserve the illusion. You were sent to awaken the sleeping. This is why betrayal has been part of your journey. Why false accusations have circled you. Why isolation has been a recurring theme. Not because you were weak, but because you were disruptive. And disruption is dangerous to those who profit from lies. Think of Harriet Tubman. She wasn't simply rescuing bodies. She was confronting the spirit of captivity itself. Her very presence shattered the lie that freedom was only for the privileged. She wasn't just a conductor on the Underground Railroad. She was a warrior in the spirit. Like Harriet, you don't always need a weapon to fight. Sometimes your existence is the sword. Sometimes your unwavering gaze is the battle cry. Sometimes your quiet refusal to bend is the earthquake. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Ephesians 6:12. Your battles have rarely been with people. Your true opposition has always been with systems, spirits, and strongholds operating through people. But here's the sacred truth. If the spirit realm recognizes your presence, it also knows it cannot overcome you. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. You are divinely shielded. You are spiritually fortified. You are eternally marked. And every attack that has tried to crush you has only confirmed what heaven already declared about you. You are anointed. You are appointed. You are unstoppable, chosen one. When you feel the resistance rise, when the shadows gather, when the warfare intensifies, don't shrink back. Don't question your worth. Don't water down your voice. Understand this. The darkness is reacting not because you are failing, but because you are succeeding. You are advancing. You are dismantling. You are fulfilling the assignment you were born to complete. Let them react. Let them rage. Let them tremble. You are not moved by fear. You are moved by fire. And that fire was not kindled by human hands. It was lit by the breath of God Himself. Stand firm. Speak boldly. Move faithfully, because every step you take in truth sends ripples through realms you cannot even see, shaking thrones, toppling idols, awakening souls. You are not just walking through history, you are rewriting it. You are not just disturbing atmospheres, you are shifting destinies, and heaven is cheering you on. Section 5. The true cost of being chosen. Chosen 1. There is a price to carry. What you carry. A weight hidden behind the beauty of your calling. A cross beneath the crown, a crushing before the rising. This is the part few talk about. The silent sacrifices, the invisible battles, the losses that accumulate like hidden scars. The world celebrates the idea of being chosen, but it often despises the reality of what being chosen demands. Because to carry light in a world addicted to shadows means becoming a target, means walking roads others refuse to walk, means losing people you thought would stay. The true cost of being chosen is not only in what you fight, it is in what you must leave behind. The friendships that couldn't follow your growth, the comforts that crumbled under the weight of your awakening, the versions of yourself that had to die, so the real you could live. It's why loneliness has walked beside you like an uninvited companion. It's why misunderstanding has become a language you've learned to interpret without bitterness. It's why sometimes when others celebrate milestones, you sit quietly feeling the ache of all you had to release, just to stay true. Chosen 1. This is not punishment. It's purification. It's God carving out room inside you, not just for blessings, but for power that cannot be corrupted. Consider Joseph once more. Thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, wrongfully imprisoned, forgotten by those he helped. Each betrayal was another blade carving away the boy and forging the man who would one day hold the keys to Egypt's future. Had Joseph clung to his bitterness, had he shrunk under the weight of injustice, he would have forfeited his destiny. But he allowed the crushing to become his crowning. You too have faced betrayal, not because you were weak, but because heaven was strengthening what could not be broken by human hands. You were being prepared not for survival, but for rulership. Not for applause, but for authority. Look at Ruth. After loss and abandonment, she walked away from everything she knew to follow a God she had barely encountered. She left behind her history, her comfort, her safety, and through her obedience, she was woven into the very bloodline that would birth the Messiah. The cost was great, but the legacy was eternal. Chosen 1. The more weight your destiny carries, the higher the price your soul must be willing to pay. Not because God is cruel, but because what is shallow cannot hold what is sacred. This is why betrayal came early for you, why rejection bruised you before you even understood your worth. The enemy was trying to traumatize you into silence before you could discover the power you carried. But even in the betrayal, even in the abandonment, even in the tears that soaked your pillow in the darkness, heaven was not panicking. Heaven was preparing. Every tear you cried watered seeds you didn't even know were planted. Every moment you thought you were forgotten became a silent anointing before an open revealing. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. 2 Corinthians 4:17. You are not empty because of what you lost. You are deeper because of it. You are not bitter because of who left. You are freer because of it. You are not broken because of what was stripped away. You are more authentic because of it. Chosen 1, hear me. The cost you've paid will never outweigh the crown you will carry. The nights of isolation will birth mornings of unimaginable authority. The betrayal of man will unlock the favor of heaven. The loss of familiar comforts will clear the path for divine appointments. Look at David again. The same stones he collected alone in the fields became the weapons that took down giants. The worship he sang to unseen skies became the songs that shook thrones. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was unseen. Nothing will be unrewarded. Even your silent victories, the ones no one clapped for, are recorded in heaven's scrolls. You've walked through fires others will never understand. You've endured crushing weights others could not carry. You've survived betrayals that would have destroyed lesser souls. Not because you are invincible, but because you are anointed. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5:10. The kingdom you carry inside you is not built on applause. It is built on perseverance. It is sealed by suffering. It is crowned by faith. And every ounce of pain you have endured is being translated into spiritual authority that no man can steal. You don't need the validation of those who left. You don't need the approval of those who doubted you. You don't need the understanding of those who judged your journey from the outside. You need only to keep walking, keep burning, keep becoming. The cost was high, but the calling is higher, and the reward eternal. Chosen one. You did not lose your life to betrayal. You found your life through it. You did not lose your way in the darkness. You became a light because of it. And soon, very soon, every wound will testify. They meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Genesis 50:20. Your scars will not be your shame. They will be your signatures. Proof that you were faithful to a path few dared to walk. You were chosen not because you were perfect, but because you were willing. And heaven never forgets the willing ones. Section 6. You were born to disrupt. Chosen one. The very thing you once wished would disappear, the discomfort you cause without trying, the friction you ignite, simply by standing in truth, was never a flaw. It was a signature. It was a sign. It was the echo of your assignment written in fire across the heavens before your first breaths. You were born to disrupt, not to destroy for destruction's sake. Not to rebel for attention, but to awaken what had been lulled into sleep. To challenge what had calcified into falsehood. To tear down illusions that suffocate the souls of the sleeping. You were never meant to blend quietly into broken systems. You were designed to be the holy interruption. This is why you could never settle for shallow conversations while your spirit cried out for truth. Why you could not pretend when your soul was demanding authenticity. Why you found yourself challenging rules that served no justice, questioning traditions that honored no truth. It is not in your nature to maintain what heaven has called you to overturn. It's in your spiritual DNA. Moses did not walk back into Egypt to make peace with Pharaoh. He walked in with the thunder of heaven behind him and demanded, "Let my people go." He disrupted an empire not because he sought fame, but because he carried freedom. You too carry the scent of liberation, and liberation always disturbs oppression. This is why people in positions of false authority feel uneasy around you. Not because you're disrespectful, but because your presence unmasks the foundations they stand on. You don't even have to speak sometimes. Your mere being testifies, this is not truth. And spirits that have grown fat on deception tremble. Think about Jesus in the temple. He didn't whisper approval to systems that exploited the vulnerable. He flipped tables. He disrupted economies built on spiritual manipulation, and he didn't apologize for it. My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. Matthew 21:13. You have that same fire burning inside your bones. There's a reason you have struggled with environments that value appearance over authenticity. A reason why you find yourself bristling against shallow structures, even when they are popular. You weren't made to uphold false peace. You were made to usher in holy truth. You were not called to be polite to dysfunction. You were called to call it out. And yes, that means you will be misunderstood. Yes, that means you will be labeled too intense, too serious, too much. But chosen one, it is better to be too much for a broken system than to become a compliant prisoner inside it. You are not a troublemaker. You are a truth bringer. You are not a rebel without cause. You are a reformer with a heavenly blueprint written into your veins. Look at Esther. She disrupted the comfortable lies of a corrupt palace to save a people. She didn't seek disruption. But when the moment came, she stood in it without blinking. If I perish, she said, Esther 4:16. Because truth matters more than approval. Because destiny matters more than comfort. So when the world resists you, when systems push back against you, when structures try to exile you, understand this. It is confirmation. It is proof. It is evidence that the oil on your life is real. The enemy does not fight what does not threaten him. You were born to disrupt cycles of bondage, to expose patterns of oppression, to dismantle strongholds fortified by generations of fear. And every time you speak truth in a world that profits from lies, heaven thunders in agreement. Every time you refuse to bow to manipulation, angels are dispatched to strengthen you. Every time you stand alone, because you will not compromise, the Spirit of God stands with you. Do not call conspiracy everything this people calls a conspiracy. Do not fear what they fear, and do not dread it. The Lord Almighty is the one you are to regard as holy. Isaiah 12-13. You were not sent to echo the fears of the masses. You were sent to remind them of the sovereignty of heaven, even when your voice shakes, even when your hands tremble, even when your heart wonders if it would be easier to just stay silent. You were anointed for disruption. You were marked for reformation. You were chosen to awaken, not to appease. This is why your steps feel heavier sometimes. Because every step you take shifts something in the unseen. Every move you make challenges something ancient and corrupt. You are a carrier of divine disturbance, not to destroy for destruction's sake, but to tear down what is false, so that what is true can be born. Do not apologize for your fire. Do not explain away your clarity. Do not shrink your presence to make others comfortable with their chains. You were never meant to maintain the illusion. You were sent to break it. You were never meant to keep the peace built on lies. You were called to reveal the war already happening beneath the surface, and then bring victory by truth. You are a disruptor because you are a deliverer, and those who carry deliverance must first carry disruption. Chosen one. Heaven trusted you with this assignment because it knew you would not break under the weight of misunderstanding. It knew you would not sell your voice for comfort. It knew you would not trade your fire for favor. You were born for this. You were fashioned for this. You were destined for this. And though the world may not celebrate your disruption now, heaven is preparing a crown that no man can take away. Stand tall. Move boldly, disrupt, fearlessly. Because every disruption you cause in truth is planting seeds of freedom you may not live to see, but generations will harvest because you dared to obey. Section 7. Your legacy is already sealed. Chosen one. You may not realize it yet, but everything you have endured, every battle you have fought, every lonely stand you have taken in truth was not just about survival. It was about the writing of a legacy not built on public applause, but on private obedience, not built on flashing lights, but on an eternal flame. Your legacy is already sealed, not by the hands of men, not by the metrics of this world, but by the pen of heaven itself. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. This isn't just a hope whispered over your life. It's a declaration carved into the eternal archives. You are not striving to become significant. You were significant before you ever fought your first battle. You are not hustling to earn purpose. Your purpose predates the foundations of the world. You are not scrambling to leave a mark. You are the mark. Heaven didn't send you here to fight for a name. Heaven sent you here because your name was already known in realms that this world cannot touch. You walk under a covering that cannot be revoked. You move under a decree that cannot be annulled. You live under a promise that cannot be broken. This is why the warfare has been relentless. This is why the attacks have been surgical. Because the enemy has glimpsed the scroll with your name on it, and he knows he cannot erase what heaven has sealed. Think about Noah. The world laughed at him for building an ark when there was no rain in sight. They mocked what they didn't understand. But Noah wasn't building for approval. He was building in obedience. And when the rain came, and it always comes, Noah's obedience became the doorway to survival, to future, to destiny. You chosen one have been building in the silence, building in seasons where no one clapped, building when even your own heart wondered if it was worth it. And I'm here to tell you it was, because what you have been constructing with your tears, your prayers, your lonely sacrifices is not in vain. It is the foundation of a legacy that no storm can wash away. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1:6. You are not forgotten in the folds of history. You are woven into its redemption. Every act of faith you took when no one saw, every time you forgave, when it would have been easier to harden your heart, every time you stood for truth, when silence would have been safer. It all stands as a testimony that cannot be erased by time, by slander, by betrayal, or by indifference. Legacy in heaven is not measured by popularity. It is measured by faithfulness. Legacy in heaven is not awarded by men. It is crowned by God. You may not see the full impact of your obedience in this lifetime, but generations will feel the shockwaves of your stand. Chains will break because you refused to bow. Eyes will open because you dared to see. Paths will clear because you dared to walk through the wilderness first. Look at Abraham. He wandered as a stranger in lands that were promised to his descendants. He died before he saw the full harvest. Yet today he is called the father of many nations. Abraham's legacy was sealed not because he saw the full picture, but because he trusted the one who did. You too are walking in that same anointing. Your legacy is not based on instant results. It's based on eternal faithfulness. And every step you take, every small yes, every costly no is recorded, remembered, and rewarded. Heaven keeps better books than man. Chosen one, do not despise your quiet seasons. Do not discount the moments that feel unseen. The seeds you're planting in secret are destined to break open in ways you cannot yet imagine. The healing you speak over yourself in private will ripple into healing for families, communities, generations. The boundaries you set now will become blueprints for others who will one day rise because of your courage. You are writing history even when you feel like you are surviving it. Every scar on your spirit carries a story. And those stories are not forgotten. They are being bound into a crown you will wear in the halls of eternity. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. 1 Peter 4. No amount of human rejection can cancel what God has already confirmed. No system built to ignore you can erase what you were born to release. You are a walking prophecy, a living testimony, a moving scroll of divine remembrance. And when the final chapters are read, when the records are unsealed before heaven and earth, your legacy will not be measured by the noise you made, but by the light you carried, by the truth you preserved, by the battles you fought in secret, and the victories you won in silence. You are not building your legacy. You are walking in it, and heaven is smiling at every step. Section 8. Your awakening is their unraveling. Chosen one. There's a reason your awakening has triggered resistance. A reason why the moment you began to remember who you are, the atmosphere around you shifted. Because your awakening is not a private event. It's a public earthquake. You may not see the tremors with your eyes, but your spirit has already felt it. How relationships cracked, how old patterns collapsed, how systems that once tolerated you began to reject you without reason. You didn't change to them because you became wrong. You changed because you became dangerous. Your awakening disturbed what was built on deception, and the truth is, many were more comfortable with you asleep. They preferred the version of you that questioned yourself, the version that second-guessed your instincts, the version that stayed silent to keep the peace. Because that version didn't threaten their illusions, but the real you, the awakened you, exposes every false comfort they built their lives upon. It is not your arrogance that unsettles them. It's your clarity. It's not your strength they resent. It's the mirror your strength holds up to their weakness. It's not your light they hate. It's the shadows inside them that it reveals. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. You were never meant to be hidden. You were never meant to dilute your brilliance to make darkness feel at ease. The unraveling you see around you is not a failure. It's the evidence that the illusion is breaking under the weight of your authenticity. When you speak truth, lies tremble. When you stand in integrity, corruption panics. When you love, freely control loses its grip. You don't even have to fight them. You only have to stay awake, stay true, stay aligned, because your very existence confronts what they've been desperately trying to deny. Look at Jesus. He didn't storm into cities with swords. He walked in truth, and everywhere he went, the systems built on pride, fear, and false authority unraveled. Religious leaders schemed not because he fought them, but because he revealed them. For this reason, the world hates you, because I testify that its works are evil. John 7:7. In the same way, your very being exposes what was meant to remain hidden. You are not fighting flesh and blood. You are shaking spiritual strongholds. You are not losing relationships. You are shedding alignments that cannot go where you are called. You are not isolated. You are insulated, protected by God for the greater mission ahead. Chosen one. Your awakening is not just for you. It is for every soul connected to your assignment. Your courage gives others permission to question what they once blindly accepted. Your resilience gives others hope that freedom is possible. Your refusal to bow gives others the strength to stand. Your awakening is the crack in the dam, and soon a flood of truth will follow. Look at Martin Luther King Jr. When he stood for truth, entire systems began to unravel. Laws that seemed immovable, shook institutions that seemed eternal, crumbled. He did not win by shouting louder than the crowd. He won by refusing to betray his soul. And so will you. You will win by remaining who you were sent here to be. Not bending for favor, not diluting for acceptance, not apologizing for the fire burning inside you. Every lie you refuse to agree with weakens the empire of deception. Every truth you dare to live strengthens the blueprint of heaven. You don't have to orchestrate their downfall. Truth will do that all by itself. The systems that reject you now will one day have no choice but to acknowledge the authority you carried before they even saw it. The ones who called you crazy will be forced to confront their own blindness. The ones who mocked your path will have no explanation for the fruit your obedience will produce, because you are not moving in human strength. You are moving under a divine mandate. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, Psalm 118:22. You are not the outcast. You are the cornerstone. You are not the mistake. You are the miracle. And every time they tried to diminish you, they only confirmed that you were carrying something they could neither control nor contain. Chosen one. Do not fear the unraveling. Do not mourn the collapse. Let the false fall away. Let the masks crumble. Let the shallow structures implode. Because what remains after the shaking, what stands after the storm, will be the foundation of the new world you were born to help build. You are not just awakening for yourself. You are carrying the dawn for countless souls still trapped in the night. You are not just seeing through the illusion. You are becoming the proof that truth was never lost. It only needed a vessel brave enough to carry it. You are that vessel. You are that living proof, chosen one. Your awakening was their unraveling, but it will also be their invitation, their chance to rise if they dare. And whether they rise with you or recoil from you, know this: you have already won. Because you chose truth when it cost you everything. Because you stayed awake when sleep would have been easier. Because you dared to remember who you were before the world told you to forget. You are the evidence that darkness cannot silence light, that fear cannot erase destiny, that deception cannot outlast truth. And the more you rise, the more the illusions fall. Section 9. You were sent, not born randomly. Chosen one. You are not a product of coincidence. You are not here because of biological chance or human decision alone. You were sent. You were spoken into existence by the breath of a God who saw a world that needed your specific light. Your arrival was an answer to prayers whispered across generations. Your birth was a divine strike against darkness, a declaration that hope would not be extinguished. You are not random. You are required. Before your first cry, before your first step, before your first heartbreak, the voice of the Almighty whispered over you, "You are mine." And because you were sent, your life was designed with precision. Every gift you carry, every scar you wear, every dream you can't seem to shake, none of it is by accident. It was encoded in you before you ever opened your eyes. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. You were not created to blend into the noise of culture. You were created to carry a sound the earth has been longing to hear. You were not made to simply survive. You were made to shift atmospheres. You were not meant to wonder if you matter. You were meant to walk like you know you were sent. Think about Esther, orphaned, hidden, underestimated, yet positioned at exactly the right moment to shift the destiny of a nation. For such a time as this, Mordecai told her, and such a time as this is exactly why you are here. The enemy has spent years trying to convince you otherwise, telling you that you're insignificant, telling you that your dreams are foolish, telling you that your difference is a flaw, because he knows the truth. If you ever embraced who you really are, nothing he built could stand against you. You are not here to find yourself. You are here to remember yourselves. To remember that your fire was ignited in eternity. To remember that your vision was carved from divine wisdom. To remember that your very being is an act of war against the kingdoms of darkness. Every time you chose healing over hatred, every time you chose growth over stagnation, every time you chose faith over fear, you fulfilled part of the reason you were sent. You are not small. You are not powerless. You are not behind. You are perfectly positioned for the unveiling of who you were always meant to become. The steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37:23. Even when you felt lost, even when you wandered, even when you doubted, your steps were still being guided by unseen hands. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Nothing was outside of divine calculation. Every season was shaping you. Every loss was refining you. Every delay was preparing you. You were not being forgotten. You were being fortified. You were not being punished. You were being positioned. And now, chosen one, heaven leans in and watches to see if you will rise into the fullness of your sending. If you will walk, not just as one who survived, but as one who was deployed. The battles you fought were not signs of abandonment. They were signs of assignment. The weight you carried was not a curse. It was training for the authority you are stepping into. Look at Jesus. He was not simply born. He was sent. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. John 3:17. In the same way your existence carries a purpose greater than personal success, you are here to shift bloodlines, to awaken generations, to break cycles that enslaved your ancestors, to build altars where others built idols. You were sent to awaken what has been sleeping, to heal what has been broken, to ignite what has grown cold. And no matter how hard the darkness fought you, it could not prevent your arrival at this moment. You're here, and you're ready to walk with the authority of one who knows they were dispatched by heaven itself, ready to move not with fear but with fire, ready to speak not with timidity but with timeless truth burning in your bones. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, to set the oppressed free. Luke 4:18. You are not lost. You are launched. You are not overlooked. You are ordained. You are not a mistake. You are a messenger. You were sent. You were seen. You were sealed. And the world has yet to fully witness the revolution your life will birth. Chosen one. Take a breath. A deep, sacred breath. Feel it. The weight you've carried. The battles you've survived. The awakening you have embraced. This was never just a video. This was a remembrance. This was heaven tapping you on the shoulder and whispering, "Now, beloved, it's time to walk fully in who you are." You were never abandoned. You were being armed. You were never rejected by God. You were being refined by fire. You were never random dust blown by the winds of fate. You are a living flame lit by the hand of eternity itself. The illusions that tried to trap you are falling. The labels that tried to limit you are crumbling. The chains that tried to hold you are snapping under the weight of your revelation. You have remembered. You have awakened. And now there is no going back. You will walk into rooms differently now, not seeking permission to exist, but carrying the authority of one sent by heaven. You will not shrink to fit their expectations. You will not mute your light to soothe their blindness. You will stand tall. You will move with fire. You will speak when called, and your voice will shake foundations. You are a city on a hill that cannot be hidden. You are the torchbearer for generations. Yet unborn, you are the disruption the darkness feared, and you have only just begun. As you move forward, know this: you do not walk alone. All of heaven walks with you. The prayers of your ancestors rise behind you. The winds of the Spirit go before you. When you feel weary, remember, you were built for this. When you feel misunderstood, remember, you were marked to see what they cannot. When you feel isolated, remember you were set apart for a kingdom they cannot comprehend. No eye has seen, no ear has heard. No mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, 9. Your story is not ending. It's unfolding. Your battles were not setbacks. They were secret trainings for thrones you haven't even seen yet. Walk with your head high, chosen one. Not because of pride, but because you are carrying the sacred weight of destiny. The world didn't give you your identity, and the world can never take it away. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to be remembered. And remembered, you will be not for fitting into their systems, but for carrying a truth they could not erase. You are a living scroll, a royal priesthood, a voice that carries the sound of heaven. You are chosen. You are sent. You are sealed. And the earth will never be the same because you said yes. Now rise, shine, and walk as if all of heaven is watching, because it is. Comment 777 below if your spirit says, I receive it. Because this is not just the end of a message, it is the beginning of a movement. You are the proof that light cannot be defeated. You are the evidence that truth still walks the earth. Chosen one, the world has yet to see the full brilliance of who you are becoming, and heaven smiles because it knows.